Lawmakers are already gearing up for the 26th legislative session in Washington State. NonStop Local KHQ's Morgan Ashley with more on a tax proposal, why one group of business leaders in the state say it's a bad idea.
It's called the Well Washington Fund, essentially a tax on larger employers with workers making over $125,000 a year. A similar proposal was introduced in this year's legislative session. It was sponsored by state Democrats who say it would impose a 5% tax on payroll expenses for companies with more than 50 workers above the salary mentioned. Today, Representative Sean Scott of Seattle said it would generate about $2.2 billion a year if signed into law.
This is a new dedicated account. It will be guided by subject matter experts who will study the impact of federal austerity budgeting, and they will advise the state legislature on key investments that it must make to keep Washington healthy, whole, and well in the face of federal divestment by Washington, D.C.
It was first introduced in the Senate in March of this year, where it did not pass out of committee. Now, Washington Roundtable, made up of a group of business executives in the state, says Washingtonians already saw the largest tax increase in state history. They say families across the state are already worried about their financial situations, and when taxes are raised on employers, they'll likely see them passed on to them. Washington Roundtable says managing spending is a better place to spend time working on closing a massive budget shortfall for the state, which is estimated in the billions.
How does this fit with other proposals that we might hear from this legislative session? So it feels like there's still a lot of work to do to understand what this proposal would do, both from an impacts perspective of who the tax affects and from an impacts perspective of what the tax would fund.
For the sake of transparency, Betsy Coles is a board member of Washington Roundtable, and NonStop Local KHQ is owned by the Coles Company. Representative Scott argues this proposal safeguards essential services in the state and makes things more fair. The 2026 legislative session begins January 12th. In studio, I'm Morgan Ashley.